afternoon, everyone. We're back on the Unsaid show on 90.4 FM. We're so happy to be here. Today is our last episode, but we have so many surprises coming up. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about change and how it affects us and how it's important, and change and moving on, to new horizons. I want to say a quote, and then we're going to go for a bit of a break. But before that, I would like to introduce my lovely, lovely colleagues, and let's start from the left.
Hi everyone, this is Sahar Salmanian and I'm excited for today.
This is Sara Al Mawali and this is a great episode to talk about.
Hi everyone, I'm Tamsyn Pereira and I'm sad that our last episode is a really big one.
Yeah, I'm sad, but I'm also excited for what's to come.
It's a good change.
Yes, a good change. So I want to talk to you about change before we go to a break, like a small quote. Change is hard because people overestimate their value of what they have and underestimate the value of what they may gain by giving that up. This is by James Velasco and Raphael Styler. Let's go for a break and we will be back shortly. So we're back on the Nation Station 90.4 on the Unsaid show. That was aired every Monday from 1 to 2. This is our last show today. We're waiting for your calls. Tell us how you felt about all the episodes, how you're feeling about us moving on to something. We're going to announce it later on. And also, what change did you feel it helped you in when you listened to our episodes? Today is number 30. Guys, can you imagine?
30
Yeah,
episodes.
30 episodes. 3 seasons. That's crazy.
Almost 9 months.
Exactly. I didn't think that we had done 30.
That's an accomplishment.
It's a big accomplishment for us to be consistent and to come up with, with topics. And we have so many more topics. We thank everyone who participated. And also, I want to just, before I go in, and I'm going to say it again, I really want to thank the team. And I want to highlight Hadir. We thank Hadir for all her work and the team in there. So we were excited to start this. It's been a journey for us.
Right.
It's a nice opportunity. We thank FM Oman. And now it's time for change. I'll give you the number. Tell us, is change difficult for you? So the number is, which, guess what, guys? 30 episodes and I still haven't memorized the number. Woo! But here's the number, guys. It's 24949493. 24949493. Anyhow, I would like you guys to tell me, is change difficult? And I'm sinking in my chair. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's difficult and it's uncomfortable. And I think it should be uncomfortable because when something is happening new in our life, we are diving into unknown. We don't know what's happening. We don't know a lot of things that we used to know before. So it's a complete uncertainty. But uncertainty and discomfort are not necessarily negative and bad.
Yeah. So there's some questions we're going to be talking about today. And of course, you guys will share your wisdom and input. But questions like, why is it difficult for change? Is it a process? What does it mean for a person? Does it feel uncomfortable? I mean, what's the emotions that come with it? And is it difficult with age? And why is it important? Sarah, let's go with the age bit.
The age bit.
You're a young, beautiful female.
Yes.
Yes.
So
how do you feel about that?
honestly, I think when I was in, let's say, the transition from high school to college, that was a big change for me. And that was somewhat difficult because it was a transition period. I'm going to a new country. I went abroad. I'm going to a different system. College system is completely different from high school. So that was a big change. But then I adapted. And then another big change was coming back here, adapting to that change, living back with my family, trying to find a job now, and then getting into a job. And that was also another change, which I found very difficult. I felt like I was thrown into the sea, that analogy, thrown into the sea, and then it's just like darkness, a little bit of darkness in there, not knowing where to go. But then I found myself adapting to that as well. So I feel like as I'm getting older, and now I just got married, that was another change.
Yeah.
And I think all these changes helped me. I feel like now that I'm older, I can look back at those and see how much I've grown. So I think with age, it becomes a little easier. It doesn't change the fact that it's scary. And as human beings, we crave certainty. So that fear will always be there.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out for all the graduates and whose lives are going to change into something beautiful. If you're studying here, continue studying here or abroad. As Sara said, a big change is coming up, but you know what? Besides learning, you're going to learn about life either way. So good luck to all the graduates. We wish you all the best. You said something very interesting there, and I'd like my colleagues to put their input. Sometimes you throw yourself in something, and with that comes a word, I think, fear. So do you guys think change might be really resonated with fear?
I think it does.
Yeah.
It does, because that comes with, we talked about uncertainty.
Yeah.
And uncertainty brings up a lot of fear.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Tam?
I want to throw in a different point of view here. I think it really depends on the individual, based on their experiences and like internal and external variables. But I know both of you focused on like the fear and discomfort that comes with change. And I kept constantly thinking about more positive change. Like if you're stuck in a routine and then you want to go on vacation, that's like you're choosing to change your routine. And that's a change that's not really uncomfortable. I'm like looking forward to that change. So I think it really depends on an individual and the circumstance in regards to whether that sort of change is actually bringing you fear and anxiety and discomfort or pure joy and happiness.
So that point we are going to talk about,
Yeah.
but we want to just sit with the idea of how uncomfortable, because
Yeah.
that's the whole idea of today. How is it uncomfortable for you?
Yeah.
Then, of course, everything has both ways, but because majority is that. Now, fear is not negative. Fear also can be a positive, actually. When you're scared of a lion, you feel fear, you run away.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Then we go again, which is a very valid point. But let's just kind of stay with this. Let's sit with this a bit.
Okay, then in terms of fear, I would say, yeah, a lot of people do. I think we always do. I think it's human tendency to run towards like negative motivation and fear, and we try to sit in that uncomfortableness. But I think a lot of people have the choice then whether they want to stay in that uncomfortableness or like actually work through that fear, and then you get to choose whether you want to make that change or not. But I think later on we're going to talk about forced change. For
Yes.
now, this is choices that you can actually make.
That's true.
And maybe it's good to not focus on negative and positive, because I believe fear, discomfort, and uncertainty and joy can coexist together when you're making a
can feel
change,
both at the
making
same
a
time.
choice in your
Yes,
life,
yes.
and all together may give you the result that you
100%.
want. So it's like a roller coaster of different emotions that you go through.
And I think it's a process. And we'll talk about this process system right after this break. on the Unsaid show, and we're waiting for your calls at 24949493. I'll say that again, 24949493. We're talking about change. We talked about how change can be fearful, but also Tam gave an amazing point about how it also is positive, which we can talk about also later. Layla? Who is Layla? Layla. I will talk about it, Layla.
Maybe she's gonna call.
Is she? Come on, Layla. Okay, guys. So we're talking about how it's a process. So like everything else in life, change is also a process, and actually you go through stages of change, and you actually can, it's kind of a form of loss.
Right.
What do you think about that, Sahar?
Yeah, it's interesting that when you make a change in your life, you go through different stages of grief the same way. That first you are in denial, that what is this new situation? I'm not, familiar with this situation. I don't want it. So you don't want to accept the new situation. And then you go to the anger part. When you're angry at yourself, that maybe you are not functioning the same way you used to function before, or you're angry at people around you because they notice the change and they keep asking questions, what has been changed?
Yeah.
What is in your life changing? And then you go to bargaining. All those questions come into your head, that what if this was not a good decision? What if it's not going to work for me?
We have a call.
Oh, nice.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, it got disconnected.
No, call us back. Maybe it's Layla.
Maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then after the anger, again, depression. Maybe we miss the lifestyle that we had before, or the person, the previous version of ourselves. And then after that, the acceptance will come. So it takes time. It's a process. It's not, it's easier said than done.
Exactly. So when we tell people, you need to change, you need to do, we forget what is the personality of the person. What is how was their upbringing? What's their insecurities? I always feel there's a lot of people that have that insecurity so much that even though they're doing such an amazing job, and we can see that they'll succeed if they change, but they're like, in that safe comfort zone.
Right.
We talk a lot about that when we talked about the cycle of abuse as well, and how women, for example, will stay, or men who are abused will stay in that cycle because they feel, we know this
is familiar.
We know how it is. It's familiar. We've gone through it. We do not want to know what is outside. We do not want to change because maybe change is not a good thing, even though a lot of times it's a big thing and a good thing. And that's why when people change, we actually go, wow, you guys are amazing. That is a lot of courage. We actually say that's courage. That's a huge step. And people with insecurity will go, oh my God, yes, it's a huge step. And they'll step back again. But the change is good. There's something that happens in our bodies as well that we don't think of a lot. But when we actually donate blood, the blood in our body recharges and it becomes better. It's the same thing.
Right.
And we always say, bring new blood, bring new, sounds like vampires, but like bring new energy, bring new ideas. And that's what we need to do.
And I like that you mentioned the stages of grief, and I'd like to link that to forced change. Sometimes when you're let off of your job, or when, let's say, you're financially, I want to say
stuck.
broke or stuck, financially stuck. Like, I feel like sometimes you are forced to change unwillingly, and then sometimes you miss your old life. Then you go through that period of grief.
Yeah.
But then we have those changes where we choose to make those changes willingly, even though we're maybe a bit scared but also excited, and that has its own process and challenges as well.
Process
which
again,
we can talk about that.
Yeah. So it's a process. If we go back to that question, it's a process. How do you think this process might be for different people, Tam?
I feel like unless someone is really sure they're going to win, why would you risk taking that chance in case you might lose, right? Nobody wants to put themselves in that position. So it's like gambling, right? So unless you're 100% sure you're going to win the lottery and you're going to succeed, nobody actually wants to risk losing. So I think that to push yourself to be able to put yourself in that position and then be open to changes in case you lose as well is another part of change that we need to look at. Not just the fact that you could lose, but what will you learn from it?
Yes.
Even if you don't win.
It reminds me of ABBA's song, Take a Chance.
Take a chance on me.
Take a chance on me. And let's go for a break and we'll be back. Take a chance and call us, guys, on 24949493. Take a chance. So we're back on the Unsaid show. We're talking today about change, about the process, about the fear, about how does it feel? Does it change with age? Which we're going to talk about that some more. We also talked about how grief, because it's kind of part of grief, but I would like Sara to tell us about the stages of change. You talked about forced change earlier on.
Yeah, forced change.
So what's the stages of change?
So there are 5 stages that a person can go through when they're thinking about change. The first one is pre-contemplation, which is basically you are considering change, but you're not yet fully ready to take that change.
Yeah.
So that is pre-contemplation.
I think that's something that we could resonate with, right?
Yes.
So you have the thing, you have the situation. Now you're thinking, do I want to change
Yes.
it or not?
So you're just
Okay.
pre-contemplating it.
Okay.
Then you have contemplating. So you see the possibility of that change, but you're still it's still not clear for you.
Okay, so you're actually going to another kind of step in the process.
Yes. And then we have determination. You're like, okay, I'm ready to make that change. You're committed to changing, but you're still considering what to do.
Exactly. And
What's
maybe
the first-
somebody
what's
might
the step I need to take.
That part is kind of funny because then someone comes in and goes, do you really want to do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
And then you're
like,
like,
is it a
still
good
stuck.
idea?
So you're like pumped and you're like, yeah, I can do it. And then someone like, are you sure?
And then
Maybe leaving that job is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe leaving that country or leaving that person.
Right.
So you're like stuck in the middle kind of thing. Okay.
The fourth step is actually action. So you take the step towards a change, but you haven't stabilized in the process. So you're slowly taking the action, but you're not fully there yet.
I think
still.
between determination, I don't know, Tahar and Tam, what you think. Between determination and taking action, I think it's kind of
Yeah.
there'll
The
be a
fear
time
is there,
Yeah.
but
frame there, right?
you're a little bit more confident in taking that action, I would say.
I think
Yeah.
it's an overthinker's nightmare because you're going back and forth. And if you
Definitely.
I'm an overthinker. And for
Yeah.
me, when Sarah's reading this, I'm just thinking of so many options.
Yes.
And then if you have an external influence as well,
Right.
that you have even more options. So
I would be like
Yeah.
that. So I'm like, do I? And then I'll ask everyone in the world, and then maybe we'll go back to what I want to do. But I'll be like, what do you guys think? We have a call. Let's see what this caller thinks about it. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, can I ask my question now?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to say that I really enjoy the show. I was actually I think you guys are top.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. I wish you guys could have another 30 episodes, honestly, but
Well, stay tuned. You never know what's going to happen next. There's some surprises coming up.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
sort of thing about change, and I wanted to ask what your opinion was on dealing with. I mean, let's say you make a change that you're not happy with, and dealing with the regret of that.
Okay, that sounds good. Maybe someone from the team can answer that question.
yeah, I don't mind taking it
Yeah.
on. Thank you for your question. Okay, with regret, I think once again, I like to look at it from an individual's point of view, and I think everyone looks at regret differently. So you can sit with that regret and not do anything going forward. Or like I said earlier, you can ask yourself, what did I learn from this? If you want to try again, go on ahead. And if you can't, then you sit with what you've learned and then you make different changes going forward. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but I do think that it's really your perspective at the end of the day that matters, and how you're looking at the change that you've made. If you can't make that change, if you're sitting with that change and it's a big regret, then I would say going forward, see what other changes you can make to kind of work through that regret. So you just add on to that.
Just to add to what you said, I believe the reasons that we want to make a change in our life is very important. It's a good criteria to evaluate your regret. If the reason is still valid, that you believe that I made that change, I am in this situation because of that reason, maybe you're just unhappy because of the costs that you're paying for that. If the reason is still valid, I think we need to be patient with the costs that we are paying for it.
I think the word patient is something we need to write down and talk about it a bit more. Yeah. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Thank you for your question.
I don't know if we can hear, but thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. And stay tuned. We have lots of things coming up.
probably got
Okay.
disconnected.
Yeah, maybe. So basically, we were talking about the determination and action.
Yeah.
Yeah. After the action, what happens?
After the action, it's maintenance. So you have achieved the goal, and you're working to maintain that change.
Yeah, this is the point actually that I wanted to highlight with patients. You know, sometimes when you do change and then you start it and it doesn't work out, and you go, oh, I wish I didn't do that change.
Yeah.
And I feel that maintenance part needs a bit of time, because that happens a lot, right? When you, even if okay, the simplest thing, you buy something. And then you feel it wasn't okay. And that, you know, there's a period of time where you're kind of not sure.
Yeah.
And that time is when you have to decide, is this okay? You want to continue or not?
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that's me at the gym.
Yeah.
Because people don't stay consistent
Oh God,
with the
yes.
change. You're looking for a
Very
change,
true.
but I speak for everyone now. It's not
Yes.
just me at the gym, but you don't stay consistent. Most people don't stay consistent because you want immediate change.
Yeah. And you could be really, really pumped up and motivated, and then slowly you're like really doing well.
Yeah.
And then after like, let's say, okay, maximum 2 weeks, so you're like, you go down again. So it's very difficult to stay in that point.
Yeah, and I think it is important to have that maintenance as well, especially if you're moving towards a goal, something
Yeah.
you really want. That maintenance period can actually dictate how far
Very
you're going
true.
to go.
Very true.
And then the last stage, the sixth stage, is reoccurrence. So experience a reoccurrence of the same thing. Like, so you might go through the whole stage all over again.
Yes.
But it's that maintenance part where you will boost and
Exactly.
move forward.
Keep
Yeah.
you in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Interesting.
quite interesting how there's a lot of things that have, steps and process, but it is difficult for someone who would be an overthinker or someone who doesn't like, systematic kind of things. But what we want to highlight, it doesn't happen like that. It just happens, and in psychology or in therapy or in people then turn to study the person, and they've written all these steps, but it doesn't mean it goes with everyone. It's like grief; it doesn't go with the 1,
There
2,
is
3,
no
4. You could
order.
skip to 5, go back to 2, and then this is how, when they show you studies and statistics in psychology or information, it's not specific, it's general, because they're studying so many different people. So a lot of people will go, but I don't go through that, and why does my life have to have 1, 2, 3, 4? And it's not about that. We're just saying that these are the things that most likely might happen, and some people need a system, need a process. So just wanted to highlight that, because that's something
was a good
we
point.
always hear about. Okay, I'm gonna say the number again. It's 24949493. Shall we go for a short break and come back? Yep. Okay, let's go for a short break.
This is
So change, and how does change make you feel? And is change good in your life? What is the process? What is the steps, the stages? These are things we've been talking about today. We are talking about change because we are going to make a bit of a change after this 30th episode again. 30 episode, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about which ones affected us more, which ones were fun later on. But yes, you can find all these episodes on YouTube, on FM Oman, and check them out and tell us what you thought about them. Anyhow, what about kids, Tam?
In the sense of change.
Change, yes.
Oh,
I feel like they're like
kids are going through so many changes, especially like the teenage years when they're really, I mean, even younger than that, when they're really trying to figure out their identity, who they want to present as themselves to their friends, their family, themselves, to society. And I think a lot of people overlook that because they're like, oh, you're a child, you have everything provided to you, so you don't have to worry about anything. But kids are going through so many changes, and I think even more so now with how fast this generation's moving, with how fast social media is and everything is in this world. So yeah, I think that in regards to children, change needs to be something that we need to talk more about, especially big changes, like when it comes to changes of their body, their mental health, milestones in their life, maybe even family changes, things that are happening in the family. And I think these conversations don't happen enough, which is why we are here. But yeah.
You know what? I like the idea of you saying how things are going very fast paced, and we need to talk about change more with kids, because to parents, I always notice that they always, it's as if it sounds like they don't want these changes to happen. Like it's too fast, overwhelming for the parent. So a lot of times I'll hear, oh, because, kids now are not like how we were. And we always talk about this, and life now is not the same. We need to tell them, we need to teach them, but they're putting a lot of stress and pressure on these kids.
And on themselves.
And they're forgetting they were kids. It's a process. As Tam said now, things are going fast. Things are going to go faster, guys. So you need to catch up. It's not about your child. It's you. You actually need to understand that there is a change, and you need to understand that things are going to go this way. And you need to understand out of all of this that it's their journey. You had a journey. You went through it. You learned from it. We can only teach them. We can only guide them. But they need to go through the journey. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive in this world. If we shelter them the whole time and worry about them watching things, going places. I'm not saying, of course, throw your kids everywhere and let them go. But just try and understand it's your stresses, it's your fear. And of course, as a parent, it's normal to, worry about your kids. But don't stop their journey by sheltering them too much that when things happen in their life, they won't be able to defend themselves because they've been sheltered so much. I mean, now the sheltering of kids is different from how our time was. Now a lot of things are like, stop this, switch this off. In our time it was like the same, but little bit more chilled. Like don't let them go to places. Now even at home, we're stopping them from doing things. Let them go on the journey. Let them learn. This is the only way they'll be able to understand themselves, understand how their brain works and the problems that they may face. And if you looked after them well and you had that kind of communication that was right, they will come back to you and they will talk to you. If you did not, and you infused fear and you infused worry and stress, they will not come back to you. So now think differently. Think about, how can I have this communication with my kids more than how can I shelter them and get them away from everything bad in the world. The world is not all flowers and roses and happiness. There is good and bad, and that is how life is.
True. And a lot of children, especially teenagers, are scared of change. They are so worried of change. And I think something that we do in our sessions, like me and Tam, because we see that age group a lot, is teaching them growth mindset and knowing that life is unpredictable. You're going to be going through lots of changes as you grow older. But how can I be there for myself? Who can I reach out to? And how we talked about the maintenance stage, that maintaining the changes in your life, but also knowing that you can, sometimes in that stage you need support. So that can be a support of a friend, of a family member, a support of a therapist, but also sometimes that support can be yourself. And also the hope and your goals, those all can be things that can move you forward.
That's true. I know when it comes to change and age.
Right.
So little toddlers, babies, toddlers, they don't worry about change. They just
go.
live and go for it. They're very mindful. They live the moment. When do they start learning about change and the fear about change, or the if it's good or bad, the change is when we start teaching them and they start comprehending. There's a phone call. Let's get that phone call.
Nice.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good. Who's with me?
I want to share something for the Unsaid show.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please share. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi,
I think
we can
is
hear
it
you.
lagging?
Can you hear me?
I can
clearly?
hear you. Yes.
Okay. So I just first I would like to thank you all for doing this.
Thank you.
It's a really great space to fill people wonder.
Thank you.
So my question today is maybe like far from what you were saying, but I will try to be like close.
Okay.
Like I've been through situations in the past, and I was forced to change myself, and I was uncomfortable at that time. After that, like I failed in many stages. That's what made me really worried to change myself again. So now I want to change myself, but I don't have that trust in myself, and also I don't know if I have the energy to do it again, because I failed in the past. I don't know what I will face in the future. So it's like something I wonder about. So
This is
maybe
a
you can
very,
handle
very
it better
good
than me.
point. It's a
Yeah.
very good point. Thank you so much. We're going to answer that question, and I hope that it will help you out. One of the things we talked about on our last episode was trauma. Trauma is associated a little bit with change. So if you have a traumatic experience, which trauma is a shocking or something bad that happens and then doesn't work out, it stays with you. And it stops you from doing change because you have that memory, of, it's not going to work out. It's also associated with something called PTSD. So post-traumatic stress disorder, it evolves to that. So change is actually connected with those two things, trauma and with things previously that happened to us, and it can disable us from moving forward, like also Sara said in her stages. Yeah,
Right.
what do you guys think about that?
I think when we have forced changes, it's really important what is our mindset? What are the expectations that we have from ourselves? Because some of the times our expectations are unrealistic, and that's why we feel like we are a failure and I couldn't make it and I shouldn't go for another changes. Because when we are in that situation that change is forced, we need to be very patient with ourselves, and we need to go for adapting ourselves to the new situation. It can't be certain and comfortable and familiar as soon as possible. It will take so much time for you. We need to renew our support system. We need to renew all our expectations that we have from ourselves.
And remember that it's a process. So there's going to be fear, there's going to be things happening, but you can evaluate it and see what was the positives and the negatives out of it as well.
And I think a part of, you said the growth mindset is important, and also having that acceptance that and I'm sure the acceptance part is difficult as well, because you have to go through all those stages. But I think acceptance of who you used to be will never be the person that you are today. You can't go back to the person you used to be. You're a different person, and what are the changes that are necessary for you to be the person you want to be?
True. We say this a lot, right, Tam? We say a lot of clients come to the clinic and say, I want to be like before. I want to be before. And I always say, but maybe you'll be better than before. Why don't we look forward instead of looking backwards?
Yeah. This is the caller. I relate to what you said about not having the energy to try again. But remember that you're not the same person you were before. Like you said, realistically, who you are now, and you're constantly changing. That's something I always remind clients. Me as well. we all are not the same person we were like a minute ago. We've gotten new information, we've experienced different things. So because you're constantly changing, then whatever grief or trauma you're sitting with at this moment is just temporary.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to make another change and try and see if that's different for you.
And the fact that you want to change,
It's already a step
that's
forward.
a step forward.
And the fact that you're self-aware, big props to you.
Exactly. So you've actually changed already in a way, but you haven't realized. So you just need to like tap your hand on your shoulder and go, good job, and let me see how I can do this again. And you take it slow. Take it slow.
and
Seeing
reach
that you
out.
have an experience now. So you kind of are better. You're not in the unknown zone anymore. You know what's going to happen. So it's better than before, actually.
And make sure you reach out for support.
Yeah.
I believe that I can do and achieve many things, but the only thing that, like, this feeling, like, block me from being in different, like, type of change that I need just some power to do.
Yeah.
It's a discomfort.
It's exactly, but stay with that, that feeling, discover that feeling, sit with it a bit more and think about that feeling. And you will see, instead of saying, I can do this, but you'll be like, I can do this and I will try. Change the narrative of the story and it will work out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
We
question.
totally
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.
you.
Have an awesome day. Let's go for a quick break then and come back. Yeah, that was good. So we had an amazing caller before the break, and he was talking about change and how change becomes, sometimes it's scary and tiring. Let's now change the narrative, guys. Let's go to positive land. Okay, change is also exciting.
It is.
It pushes new ideas. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. In relationship, actually we have a lot of positive changes that we decide as a couple to have those changes.
Yeah.
When we make a decision to immigrate, when we make a decision to have a child, to go to a new place, although it has its own challenges, but this is something that we aim for. This is something that we feel like we need it. And actually having constant changes in your relationship will prevent your relationship to become boring.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's necessary for a relationship to have small changes.
Sure. Even at work and in life, I even tell people the littlest thing, change the way you go back home, the road. We always go to the same. I literally think my car drives itself. I go in, it's home. But let's try and change it and go to another road. A lot of people think, why should I go to another? That is a practice of change, actually. What about you, Sara, Tam?
I like to say, change as uncomfortable that it is. Sometimes the discomfort is a catalyst that can lead you towards your true potentials and a new life, a new positive life. So sometimes when we can sit with that discomfort, like you advised our caller, just sit with it.
Yeah.
Sit through that discomfort and you'll be surprised. Because when we are running away from that uncomfortable feeling, we're just going to be staying in that fear zone. And we're just going to be comfortable in that fear zone. Yeah. And no step will be taken forward.
There's a big study now, a new thing. It's not really new, but you know how people come up with new words. Change management. And a lot of companies are doing that. And they have to change their whole system. They have to the whole approach. And that's scary because you can actually lose a lot of money, a lot of people. But also at the same time, it's managing it right. Studying it first and seeing where it goes. And there's something very easy, sometimes you can, if you change, it doesn't work, you just, kind of, as much as it sounds like, right, you can change it again. Life is like that. It's option. There is option.
Unlimited.
It's unlimited. Even if it's maybe not so good option sometimes, but again, I always say this, it's an option.
I like what you said about why don't you take a different road to drive back. Because, I'll tell you a personal experience. I always go paddle boating in the same area in Kurum. And a lot of people have messaged saying, why do you keep doing the same thing? But for me, it's not the same. Because every single time I go, I'm looking and observing something different. So it may look like the same thing from a different perspective, but it depends on the individual who's actually going through the change. For me, it's different every single time. One day the water looks different, one day the wind's different, and there's so many different variables to that. So change doesn't have to be like a big drastic change. It could be tiny little things, and I think you need to be more mindful to recognize that you're going through changes literally every second of your life and not just those big changes that we're scared of.
I like that. And it brings me to this little quick point I'm going to say. You know how sometimes people will say, you're beautiful inside and you should feel good about yourself. And then we see these comments again and again of, oh, you're just saying that because you want ugly people to feel good. I've read these comments of, oh, you're just saying that, but it's not true. How can someone see your inside? It is a change of view. You need to understand that life doesn't just go black. You're now looking at one side of life. You probably are upset. You probably have gone through so much. But let's see, instead of writing something like that or feeling that, why don't you actually try and feel good inside? And you will really it's not, when people wrote this, they were not just like sitting there and saying, what shall we write today? They felt it and they wrote it, and then we read about it and tried to feel it again. So instead of writing comments like that, that are very down and make you, I'm sure it doesn't make you happier if you write that, why don't you change the narrative? Change the way you approach people. Try and be nicer. I mean, that's a good change, right? In social media, why not do that? Change, be kind, write nice things. I'm not saying write nice things even if it's not nice. I mean, just try and feel good in the inside, and you will definitely, and this is not a song, it's not a poem, you will feel good outside. But if you don't, you will keep on wearing this mask. And I am sure people who write stuff like that are not happy. They just want to hurt someone because they feel that they're not getting there. So let's change the narrative. And we always say at the end of the show, and we're nearly at the end of the show. Sahar, you wanted to say something before that, but let's hear what Sahar's got to say, and then let's say.
I just wanted to say that I believe what you said, that the biggest power that we have is to change our perspective, because this is something that we have control over it. There's so many things out there happening out of our control, but this is the only thing that we have. I choose how to look at it. I choose how to perceive it.
That's very right. And with that, we are very excited to our new journey. Stay tuned to us. We have an amazing journey. We talked today about change because we are going through change. 30 episodes here. We loved each one of them. Please choose what was the best ones for you. I can't even count. There were so many that I liked, honestly. Don't know about you guys.
I go back to YouTube sometimes and
Check it
watch
out.
some of
Me
our
too.
old episodes
Yeah.
because it gives me so many ideas as well.
That's true. So please, you guys, we thank you so much for your patience. We thank you for always communicating with us. We are still going to be doing this in an amazing new way. Stay tuned. And as we always say, and I hope you guys also believe in this because it's something theoretical and we've tried it and it's true, and it's change begins with you. Guys, you've been amazing. We loved it. Tam, Sara, Sahar, thank you so much.
you.
Thank you.
And we're going on our next journey. You've been awesome. And here we have Naeem and Ahmed and Hadir. We thank you so much. And as people say, it is not the end, it is just the beginning.
beginning.
So stay tuned with us.